Welcome to the At Your Service Buzz. I am your host and moderator, Jeanine Cosgrove-Albert, the Vice President with At Your Service Staffing. Today, I'm very lucky to be joined by such a great group of industry professionals and influencers in the food service and hospitality industry. And we are happy to have Sharon Iliatombi with us from the World Bank. She is currently the Senior Program Manager overseeing the food and catering conference services, office hoteling, and event setup services, as well as the conference center at the World Bank office in Paris. Oh my gosh, Sharon. That is amazing. That is bananas, but amazing. We are also joined by Mark Freeman, a leader, innovator, and industry disruptor, currently the Global Strategic Manager for Food Service at Ford. Then we are also joined by Damian Monticello. He is the Senior Manager, Corporate Hospitality Services at Guidewell, Florida Blue. Thank you for joining us, Damian, from the sunny state of Florida. And then we're also joined by Rob Gordon, who is the Vice President of Workplace Services at Amex American Express. Again, thank you all for joining me today. We are obviously in unique times, especially for our industry, an industry that likes to touch and see and feel and get together and plan. And obviously these last 6 months have been a change from that. You are all leaders in your organizations and, as I said, within our industry. So my first question that I wanted to pose to the group is, what are some of the biggest challenges your organization has faced in response, to the pandemic, from a leadership stance, organizational stance? What have you faced during these times?
I can start if you want. I guess, again, I'm at Ford Motor Company, and one of the biggest challenges I think through all of this was the amount of accelerated decision-making, if you will, or the idea that things happened really fast, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. And, in our organization, we immediately shut down. And so that was a big, there's a lot of decisions to go, how to, what do you do with food and all of those kinds of things. And then the idea of coming back up started to creep into the conversation, and that happened really fast. And, again, for Ford, when we came back up in a kind of a different way, in that we turned our industrial sites into manufacturing ventilators and PPE type stuff. And so we had to feed those people, and again, it happened in like 2 days, whereas the bureaucracy that especially Ford has is that, a decision like that would take, a lot of time. But again, I think it was kind of encouraging to see the idea of fast decision making and the way we kind of move this thing forward.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to jump into what Mark was saying, because even though it was moving so fast, a lot of our operations run on a P&L. So majority of the time, what do the vendors do with their staff, right? The first thing they would think of, there's no business, they're going to lay off. So then on the client side, what do we do, right? The right thing to do is, for us at the World Bank, we continue paying for the vendor on-site salaries, their wages, their benefits. But now, of course, we're in discussion because we're not even open yet, and they're moving opening dates now to the new calendar year of 2021. So now's the next step. What are we going to do? So opening is not even in the mindset of a lot of our senior leadership, although we have an opening package that keeps changing because we think we're going to open and now we're not. So, but what do we do with the vendor staff? That's the also crucial point.
Yeah, for us, with Guidewell being a health solutions company, from the organizational standpoint, one of the biggest things was continuing to make sure that people were provided access to healthcare. That we had to make sure that our affiliations with our hospitals and doctors and everyone else in clinics and everything that we work with, that our policyholders had access to that, especially being in Florida, which has been such a heavily impacted state through all this, and then specifically on the hospitality side, Sharon really touched on a good point there. One of the first things we talked about was, okay, we're shutting the conference center down, we're shutting the cafes down. What are we going to do with those folks? How are we going to approach this? And we were kind of in that same mindset of the right thing to do was to keep them employed, and now how do we do it in a meaningful way? So it was really interesting to see how quickly people were coming up with creative ideas as to how we could utilize that labor force. We took our entire AV team from our conference center and deployed them with our IT department, who was doing some upgrades in some of our buildings because they had similar skill sets, and they could lend them a hand where they really needed some help. So it was just being able to work across the aisle with some other departments where we might usually have been siloed before.
And I'll just jump in because I'll tie into exactly what has been said. The speed in which we had to act and react was exceptional. And for us, it was like we had a lot of autonomous decision making. One of the big things at American Express was getting people to work from home. We basically took 60,000 employees within 11 days and made sure that everybody worked from home, and gave them the ability to work from home and all of that. So, in the food and beverage area, we are creature comfort. So that was a big piece of what we wanted to do. So, looking at it in a global manner, the world had the same issue, but everybody was moving at a different speed. So trying to capture it. And I joked around with people that it almost felt like whack-a-mole, that you're working on something in Manila, you fix that, and then all of a sudden something happens in London. So you're trying to kind of piece it together and do the best you can. But I think all of us had gone through the same thing. When the first call to arms came out for us, what's the first thing we did? Everybody came to the food and beverage team and said, hey, we got to take care of people. So that was the first thing we did. So although we were working on getting out, we had our contractors and our staff really sticking around and doing, trying to as best we can to support our colleagues. So those were some of the, to that point of looking at it from a global nature, and then looking, I think how Mark and Sharon had said, and Damien, the speed in which the actions that had to be taken, and again, I think that, we all looked at it, and there's no past history. Anybody that went into this, there's nothing to refer back to or limited. We actually had a lot of pandemic, we had a lot of, recession planning. So the financial piece started coming together for us, but operationally we were still, grasping at straws. And when you have 60,000 colleagues and many of them work on site like customer care professionals, you got to turn that around. And then there's compliance issues. So there was a lot of effort, but it was a proud moment for all of us. And I think all of us on the phone with seeing how our organizations turned and reacted. Mark, I mean, the stuff that we saw that Ford did was pretty incredible. So I think that we all have done those things. And like I said, what Damien and Sharon are doing with their staffs, there's a lot of great things that came out of this too. So that's kind of where my take is on this topic.
Well, and I think from a leadership standpoint too, and connecting it to hospitality, I mean, I think we found out that, the hospitality and food service is very important to our companies, right? And all of a sudden we're front and center. I know, Damien, you and I have had some conversations back and forth, and I mean, you get audience with the CEO, and in the past, I'm sure that you weren't, first in line when there's decision making, and all of a sudden now you are, right? So right. I think from a leadership standpoint, it really showcases the importance of, amenities and hospitality and that sort of thing, right?
No, for sure. And yeah, I mean, from what you were all saying, I mean, quick decision making and taking care of your own were the two underlying themes in all of your responses. Was, how do we make this work now, and how do we make it work? And we do need to make decisions. And then globally, it's amazing to me how you all have handled and reacted to the pandemic, because I mean, we were United States was 3 months behind what everyone else was going through, and I've heard on calls from some of you or podcasts or conversations that you have had, that you at one point, you were looking at, Asia for the reopening, and then, what was Europe doing? And, now I feel like some of those areas are looking at us and what we're doing as well, to see what they can do that maybe they have missed. So it's turned into a very collective, I don't know, think tank, if you will, but, group think, but it's really been amazing to see the work of it all come together. And that has been very positive. But if there is one positive thing that you can say that's come out of this, what would you say that would be for, for you and your organization?
Well, I'll start with that one if you don't mind. I think for us, there were a couple different things. Operationally, for our food service program, it was one of the positives that have come out of it. It's been a great opportunity for us to test new technology, new programs, new concepts, because we're feeding our critical infrastructure folks only right now. So we took at the main campus where I am, where we usually have over 7,000 people, we have about 300 right now. And we're providing them with a lunch every day. So we've been able to launch new mobile ordering platforms and get them used to utilizing those and get feedback on how they work. We've been able to introduce new menu items as their free meal for the day and get feedback on how do you like this, how do you not. So when we get back to when we're starting to ramp up the program, we can build our menus more effectively around what are the things that the employees are really asking for and that they really gravitate to. Yeah, so that's been fantastic. And then the biggest thing for me, I know, I think just about everyone here has probably heard me share this story, was from a community aspect. Our company really embraced its mission of helping people in communities achieve better health. I talked about what were we going to do with all those food service employees we have. Well, one of the ways we kept them employed and kept them doing something that had meaning was by partnering with Feeding Northeast Florida here in Jacksonville, because they all of a sudden were in dire need of meals, something they've never had to do before. They usually would give donations that came to them out to local senior citizen centers, and those centers would turn them into meals for their residents. Well, a lot of those kitchens were shut down because you had staff members and residents that were testing positive. So we were able to step in and say, hey, we've got huge production kitchens that are sitting quiet right now. Bring the food to us. This is what these people do, is they make meals. And, we've been making 3,000 meals a day since the end of March. We just passed the 300,000 meal milestone back the end of August, and we'll hit 500,000 meals the week of Christmas that have gone to help support people in our community who otherwise wouldn't have gotten them. A lot of the seniors became scared about going to the grocery store because they were a higher risk, or, they lost their means of being able to get around. And to see our company step up and just say, yeah, this is the right thing to do. It meshes with our mission as a company. Go do what you need to do. And, for me not really have to go through all the channels to do something like this that would normally take place. That's been a fantastic outcome that we've been able to continue to help so many people.
Yeah, when
It's amazing.
I spoke of it earlier, we had a similar experience with all the PPE that we produced in our factories, right? And again, it happened in such a short period of time, and it was I guess the great people that come together in crisis like this and work as a family almost and get things done, right? I mean, it was just amazing to me to how you turn in a manufacturing plant that produces F-150 Ford trucks into a ventilator, production. But again, there's a lot of similarities, but that piece of it was what really worked for me. I think the other thing that I think the positive thing that came out of all of this, and again, it's related to the great industry that we're a part of, and that is that a lot of people started talking to other people that maybe we wouldn't have talked to before, right? And we reached out to people, and I got involved in discussing things with the hospital industry and the K-12 industry, and college and universities. And I think, we can all learn from each other. And to me, all that coming together is just a very huge positive for our industry, right? It's just fantastic to see that happen.
I agree with you, Mark, and also Damien. It's just because, when it happened in March, everyone, we were just jumping in, just making sure that everything would be taken care of and that our employees are all taken care of. Then when you set back and reflect to see, okay, what are the next steps? That's when we could tap into the industry leaders, the manufacturers, and even other, like organizations. What are you doing? What's going on in your organization? And how can we, move forward and do better? And I think that it's for me was one of the most positive things that came out of that, is like sharing ideas and best practices too, to ensure for the coming up reopening that it's going to be done in a proper way.
Yeah, and I would join in on that too, because I would tell you, Shannon, and similarly, and maybe it's the fact that we're based in New York, but there's a lot of clients in the New York market. And one thing I would say is we all came together, and as much as we're in competition, we all want to be the first kid on the block with a new toy. When it all came down to it, everybody wanted to make sure that they were in lockstep. And I think it was important because it wasn't the moment in time for everybody to be innovative and doing new things. The more we did consistent work, the more we were telling a better story. So I thought that was good. I would tell you also personally from my team, from a leadership perspective, my direct reports, they worked autonomously. And what's going on in Manila, what's going on in Singapore, I have a pulse on, but I can't speak to the people that are in markets. And I saw the fact that from a leadership perspective, my team really rose to the occasion. We had discussions, we had support, we thought about that, but ultimately the decision-making was really localized. And I thought that was great. And, typically, I'm not sure for most people, but, you always have Big Brother coming out of New York or out of the corporate office telling you what to do. And nobody ever wants to hear that call. So
Right.
It was really nice to see. And I think that was something that I'm very proud of my team. And I've seen it in general. And then I think the last thing is kind of what Mark and Damien were talking about is care for the colleagues, care for the community, right? We all came together. We found our ways to do whatever it was, whatever worked for us. And the focus of all of our hospitality people, and it's interesting, my team, if you ask my team what we do, we don't say we're food and beverage. You know what we do? We make people happy. We keep it simple and easy. We look to make people happy. And however that comes, that's kind of how we go about it. And it really was a focus on delivering those types of things and what could we do for the colleague and then the communities. At American Express, we have partnerships with Hilton and we have partnerships with Marriott. And I think that you saw that some of the things that we were giving frontline workers and healthcare people, hotel rooms and all of that, I think they donated 1 million hotel nights or whatever. Our team was organizing emails. So we were getting letters coming in and we were forwarding letters to frontline heroes. So, you find those kinds of things to do and you kind of data mine for where you can help and where you can make an effect. And I think that's what's really exceptional about this group in hospitality. And then more so just to get into the group. And as I sit here and I look at, future and past presidents of SHFM, this is what we do as a group. And this is what I think makes us exceptional. And this is why we continue to talk about, the family, like Mark said. And, at the end of the day, we come together for the right things. And I think that's what's really exceptional about not just this group of people on screen that everybody will see, but as an organization of SHFM, it's how we live every day.
Yeah, and that's actually a great segue. To our viewers and our listeners right now, we're definitely an interesting mix of people to be speaking with one another, but our connection lies really through the Society for Hospitality and Food Management. Rob Gordon is the current president, Damien Monticello is incoming, Sharon, you're incoming treasurer and on the board of directors, and Mark, you are a past president. And myself, I am incoming chair for the foundation committee. So it's amazing to me because all of what you are saying professionally from your industries as leaders and what your companies are doing and what you all are fostering behind that, to me, it's really no surprise. You know, I will say this, the World Bank is one of our clients, you know, through our Washington, D.C. location. And I know our staff has always come back to us to say, you know, the World Bank is a great place to work. You know, yeah, I've become friendly with, you know, the people in the kitchen, and they know I have a few kids, and they always make me take a to-go bag home for them, you know, or they make sure we test, you know, like we try what everyone else is eating, you know, and it's things like that that really touch, you know, what we do. And I know that, you know, you all are very similar with what's going on. It's great to hear these stories. So, I mean, SHFM is our connection, and we are leaders within that organization. You know, let's talk about that a little bit. How has SHFM helped through this time for you? And how has it been to be a leader during this time in that organization? Rob?
Oh, Rob.
Yeah, Rob.
So I guess that's directed for me to kick it off. So when RG1, Mr. Guile had handed me the baton/pin, I definitely expected something different than as I sit here today. But in all honesty, I think everybody expected different. But I can tell you, there's a lot of proud moments. And the group, we acted as a family. A lot of the things that we did as an organization as we thought of this year, and certainly Damien was lockstep with me in this. We had a poor guy had to listen to me every Tuesday morning for about an hour, and Rob Guile. So just to clear that up. But, you know, what we've done is we were very thoughtful about how we went about things. We knew that there were going to be some, listen, as good of a group we are, we know that there were people that were casualties of furloughs and of layoffs and all of that. So we were thoughtful in our approach. We definitely took some time to offer extensions on some on memberships. But I would tell you, the family came together. And, you know, we had a ton of things planned. And, you know, going into the year, we had just come off a very successful Young Professionals conference. That was great. And we had a bunch of other things that were planned. Well, you know, my mom always says, you know, man makes plans and God laughs at them. Well, there's been a good laugh so far. But the proud moment is that we've, you know, and not to continue to use the word pivot, we, you know, we as professionals and as, again, people that care about our people and our organization, our family, we started putting our heads together and thinking about what to do. And, you know, we put on a very successful critical issues conference. We've kind of come up now with, you know, with all of the things, the social injustices that are happening that have come present. We've started working on that as well. We've really started addressing things of the times. And I would tell you, not for me, but for the team, you know, the team that did critical issues, they probably redid that 3 times. And you know, I'll leave it to Damien next, but we're probably asking the national conference team on their, I think this is their 4th round of planning. But the thing I would say is, on my opinion, is no matter what we've asked from our constituents, of our people, of our planners, they've risen to the occasion because they wanted to and they cared. And to me, that's what family's about, right? We help each other, we support each other, we're there when we need to be. And I could tell you, as I sit here today, you know, when people talk about servant leadership, I can tell you that I'm very proud to be in this role. And as much as I joke around and Damien hears me say it, you know, not the way I would have expected 2020 to go in my presidency, but with the way people acted and reacted, proud of it. And I would never give it back, because it was just really a pleasure to see everybody work and what we've come up with. You know, talking about turning lemons into lemonade, right? We made gallons. So I can tell you that.
Yeah, I would have to second what Rob was saying there. It was really motivating to see how everyone within SHFM and within the industry really came together. You know, we talk about the H in SHFM and the hospitality mindset. You know, and that hospitality mindset is you have this innate desire to take care of other people. And that's really what the group did. That's what we've heard, you know, as people have been sharing stories here about what everyone's doing, but what SHFM as a whole has done too, you know, whether it was still putting on a critical issues conference that had some great content and great meaning to it, and people were able to take things away that were going to help them as we navigated our way through the pandemic onto, the diversity sessions that are going on now, and, just the way we've been getting involved more and more with some of the social issues that are going on. And as we keep an eye on the end of this year and 2021 and what that's going to mean for us as an organization and again as an industry, there's going to be a great opportunity for us to keep that hospitality mindset and take care of each other and help the industry as a whole get through the other side of this thing and get back to, really taking care of everybody and not just being so inward focused as a lot of us have had to be over the past several months.
It's very true. And I know that, with the foundation, we're already discussing, what we're going to focus on, not only for the broader community and with students and how we can interact with them, but also to look at our immediate community, because Rob did, hit the nail on the head. We do have quite a few members who have been furloughed or, without employment, and they're still members and memberships have been extended. And what else can we do for them? Like that's what I want to see us do as the foundation. What can we do for our direct immediate community of members next to assist them? Of course, I want the students, and what else can we do to give back as a foundation? Because that's such a huge mission at Your Service. The World Central Kitchen with Chef Jose Andres is one of our, we're so proud to be connected with that organization and the volunteering that we do with that and the support we give there. We call it a service heart. I know it's hospitality, mind driven, and, we all do want to take care of other people, but, it's really having that service heart. And we all have that, as leaders within SHFM. Sharon, Mark, do you have anything to share about how, SHFM has helped during this time with you personally, professionally?
I think, for us, for seeing, what SHFM is doing, we got ahead of the game, right? We had seminars, we continued with the CIC, we didn't cancel it, we did it virtually. And I think, with also I think we got more participation, if I'm not mistaken, right, Rob? More people, signed up, and that helped because we were working with other industry leaders and we were sharing best practices and ideas. So other people who would tune in picked up from that. I know that I got messages on LinkedIn to thank us for continuing, to do the hard work and not hiding from it and actually addressing it. Like even now, with the, social issues that are going around, and SHFM has stepped up and, brought in this diversity conversation. I think it's such a crucial part now. Forget the pandemic. Now you have this other issue that we have to address. So, and it impacts all vendor employees and the people that we work with, because they're impacted by what's going on right now too. So yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting for me. I think I'm going to call myself an elder of SHFM because it was a while back that I was president, and it's really, really encouraging to see the leadership that has come about. I remember, some of the big decisions that I had to make in my year as president, and whether it was going to rain in Florida or not for our conference. That was the big decision. So I can't imagine, what this year has been from a decision-making standpoint. It's just like, the change and the I talked about it earlier, the speed of everything. I think, and as I look back to my year, Damien, you brought it up, the H in hospitality, that was the year, my year was the one where we brought the H in, and I had no idea where it would go or what it would do. And it really has developed itself into, what SHFM is today. And I think it's because of leaders like you here on the phone and past presidents and past leaders that we've had. I also think about the foundation and what we were going through with the foundation. And, And, you know, to me, the foundation has really grasped the understanding of where this industry and where this association is going to head. And that's by bringing the young people. You know, you talked about young professionals. That's what's going to be the future of this of this organization. And you know what? You as leaders are teaching them how to lead. And I think that's one of the huge values of SHFM is that there's this, you know, this quandary or this group of family members that are young and old, and you share. You know, as SHFM is known as a networking group, and we do. And especially, you know, when it comes to situations like what we have in 2020, where there's a lot of networking that needs to happen on a professional scale. And so like I said, I sit back and I kind of, thank God it's not my year, but I have to believe that, you know, that some of the decisions that you're making, Rob, and everybody on here on this is just phenomenal. How you get things through this. So I like I say, I kind of sit back and just appreciate all of the leadership that's going on here.
That's great. And I have to speak, Mark, to the networking aspect. I mean, that's been huge for me and my organization with SHFM. And it's always such a, it's a special group. I've witnessed nothing like it. And I've been without your service 22 years now. And I started when I was 5. No, but you know, it's amazing to me. I've been a part of different groups or you know, within hospitality, within food service, and this group, like I said, is really like no other. And anytime I had a reach out or an ask, and even just, you know, contacting you all to get together, there was no hesitation. It was like, yep, let's just find a date. We can all do it. And we're there. And, you know, sure, I can connect you with that person, you know, no problem. You know, it's amazing. And conversely, I've had people come to me and, you know, ask like, oh, you know, I know that this person is with you on Foundation. I really want to connect with them. Or, you know I saw that you had a LinkedIn exchange with this person and I'm really looking to speak with them. You know, it's like nothing just to say, hey, you know, we're both in SHFM, or we're all in SHFM, and I just want to introduce you to this person. You know, they're looking to connect with you. And during this time, that's just been such an amazing part of what we do, on top of the community focus, on top of all the quick changes that have been that have been made, and on top of such an amazing diversity virtual conversation that's been created and is continuing. It's really been fantastic. And I feel like we're like, you know, raising all of us up on the mountain here, but it's the truth. And you know, it's really something to behold.
And I would just say one thing, just coming back to it, just to maybe bring it full circle. But you know, you hear the term often that it takes a village, and you know, take it from me, and certainly Damien could certainly speak to, but it took a village. And it wasn't that it was just myself, Damien, and Rob Guile. I mean, there was critical issues. There was 10 to 20 people on that planning, same on national conference. And what's really nice about this organization is that it's not sole passion that drives individuals. It's each person's passion for what they do. And I think what you're seeing with the Diversity Council now, the efforts in the IAB, I mean, there's passion in the organization, the rising stars, the young professionals, some of the things that we've done. And I think some of the points where Mark and Shannon were talking about, we were ahead of most people with some of the, you know, we were doing a COVID presentation before we actually were out of the offices. So, you know, what we're trying to do is we've always thought about what's the thing that's top of mind for our constituents and our teams, and let's go at it. And it wasn't just one or two people. You know, I would get a call from Shane Varnum. I would get a call from Frank LaRusso. Damien would get calls, Rob Goff. So, but you know what, when you bring them together, that's why I really say when in order to run something like this, as big or small as you want to think we are, it takes a village. And it's not just the one at the top, and it's, you know, the board of directors has been fantastic, but everybody that's gotten involved, it's really been a pleasure to see. And by the way, whether they were employed or not employed, everybody wanted to help out for a cause. So that is, I think, special to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would even add to that. I mean, you think about, we talk about networking. Mark mentioned, SHFM is sometimes known as a networking organization. Well, it's that network. I mean, the people on this call here, I talk with just about everybody on here almost on a weekly basis, and it's that networking and being able to go to Rob or Mark and say, hey, how are you guys approaching this? Or even like with Sharon and I, where we actually even use the same food service provider. So it's okay, what are you experiencing? How are you addressing this? And we can share that information, and just the willingness that people have to share information with each other across, whether we're competitors of each other or not, that's been fantastic. And that's what SHFM has always had. And I think that's the uniqueness for the group that a lot of other organizations don't have. The way, if there was a way we could bottle that and put it within the organizations we even work within to help, foster some of that connectivity and collaboration within our own worlds, a lot of our own companies would probably be even in a better spot than we are if we could harness that willingness to help each other out and share.
Sure, for sure. My last question to kind of leave us all with is, where do we see ourselves, I don't know, January, next May? Anyone have any predictions? Anyone have a crystal ball that they'd like to share?
I see myself as a past president with Mark Freeman.
There you go. There you go.
Oh my God.
Oh,
No,
Fantastic.
Yeah, no, look, we're in the process. It's interesting, again, talking from a global nature. It's hard because there's moving parts all over the world. But, I will say the good news is we opened up and we got back into the New York office, started on Tuesday this week, low population, but, you got to start somewhere. That's the big thing. And I just think that, where I see just a general statement, a lot of it is technology and convenience is what you're going to start seeing in the future. And, our hope is we start finding ourselves back to normalcy by sometime Q1 next year. We do a lot of talk about pre and post vaccine, because until something really occurs, this is probably the new normal until we get to a certain point. And you kind of make yourself crazy listening to the news and all of these other things. There's just so much going on. But I think that those are a couple of the big pieces that I would say, you're seeing a lot of people. One of the things, and I would ask the rest of the group, but, the technology that we're seeing, what used to take, years to kind of test and do, we're seeing much quicker. I mean, look, Mark turned his facility around from, like you said, cars to ventilators. So that kind of effort you're seeing all throughout all of our industries, but it gets kind of interesting to see where we're going to go. But I tell you what, technology has happened quick, all of these things, and you're seeing things starting that, used to take such a long time. And I tell you, online ordering, everybody's coming up with an app, everybody's coming up with their own version of payment software, contactless. So maybe that's the good piece and we can start getting it going. But, I know Mr. Friedman used to do all of that contactless stuff on his iPads back in his prior life. So I know we're just kind of catching up to Mark, but we're working on it, Mark. We're chasing you down.
Yeah, hurry up, will you? Hurry up.
I'm trying.
But 5 years ago, I mean, think about it. 5 years ago, mobile app didn't even exist, and now mobile app is on. And it's funny that you say that, Rob, too, is because at the World Bank, they used to have pushback. Oh no, because of data privacy and all that. Now they're like, "What are you doing, Sharon? We need this like yesterday." I'm like, "Okay, break all that firewall down. I'll make it happen." So and that's what's happening now. And I think when we do go back in January, if we go back in January, is that I know, for example, on our end, bank staff wants to see a change. They want to ensure it's a safety for them. They want to see what are the changes you're going to make to keep us safe. And as Rob said, and I think we all agree to that, contactless, prepackaged food, and of course they want that green, compostable, disposable ware. So that's the other thing also we have to look at. And how do we make, our prepackaged food look delicious and yummy because it's prepackaged? So that would be the next challenge I think we're going to see when we get back to.
Yeah, and I think, again, for me, January is a long ways from now, and a lot of decisions to be made between now and then. But, some of the things that I'm thinking about for January have to do with, and Rob, you talked about, my past life at Microsoft, and what I was trying to do there is hook into what the company was up to and support the company initiatives. In that case, it was technology, and now it's mobility, and so I kind of think of how can I support the company initiatives as we go forward. And to me, in our industrial sites where we're making things, there's all kinds of employees. They're back to work. They're doing things all over the world. But the office employee is not back to work. And I think when some of them do come back to work, they are, they're going to experience something different with like what you're talking about, the pre-ordering on the phone and touchless and all those kinds of things. But the worker that doesn't come back to work, the worker that continues to work at home, is where I think the opportunities are. And that, again, I think mobility and how to get food from point A to point B, maybe even your home or a drop-off spot like Amazon's doing, has potential. And so that's the kind of stuff that I'm thinking about for January is to try and understand, what does this new world look like? Even with, I think, the vaccines that you're talking about, I think people are finding that working at home is okay, and I think that the workforce, the leaders of the companies are saying, well, yeah, we thought that everybody was, playing hooky when they were working at home, but actually they're getting something done, and they've proved that through all of this, right? So maybe there's some opportunities there to be able to think about, and so that's what, that's kind of what I'm up to, thinking about January and understanding, how we can improve and support that at-home worker.
Yeah, if you think about it, I mean, food service for many of us within our organizations, we were historically looked at as that place where people had those chance encounters, and how do we bring everyone together?
Yeah.
And how do we get them to bump into each other and have that impromptu conversation where that problem gets solved? And now we've been asked to completely reimagine how we're set up to how do we keep people from having those chance encounters, and how do we keep everyone socially distanced, and
Right.
how do we keep everyone away, because we're such an opportunity for that to happen with the way we were set up. So a lot of what we've been focusing on and what we're looking at for 2021 is for the people that are going to be in the office is with that touchless and contactless, but still, being able to provide, as Sharon mentioned, making sure it's still quality food that still looks great and still tastes great. And then for the ones that aren't coming back, the struggle really is going to be around keeping people engaged. We have a conference center in our facility here, which usually holds 3,000 plus events a year. And we're not going to have that level of activity, and we're not going to have meetings of that size. So how do you keep people communicating with each other and keep the ones who are working from home connected and engaged with the ones that are here? So it's looking at things, whether it's trying to organize different webinars that are virtual. We can do some virtual team buildings, and different things, even if it's something as straight up as a trivia contest to something as detailed as, a cooking class or a demonstration or a sommelier type class or demonstration. How do we keep those groups with those connections with each other, so that type of work and that high level strategic thinking type work that a lot of our organizations have to do can continue when you're going to have people in so many different locations.
For sure. And I think it's going to be through technology, through our quick, expeditious responses, and for our great leadership. And with that, I thank you all for taking the time to join me today. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate, again, you taking the time to join me. And I hope to see you all in person sometime soon, but I don't know when that'll be, but until then, we do have technology.
Yes,
do.
absolutely.
Thank you guys so very, very much for today. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Have a good
Yeah,
rest of
thank
the
you.
day.
All
Thank
right.
you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.